December the 20th, 2022, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP Padawan.
Hey, I'm TreesapJake, and I'm a elemental shaman enthusiast. And today with us, we've also got Alex, who is the creator of Warcraft Recorder and a Reg 1 disc player. So, Alex, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hi. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm Alex. I'm 27. I'm from Scotland. I live just outside of Edinburgh. I've been playing WoW since most of my life. Actually, a depressing fact I came across the other day was that it's the majority of my life since about 2007, and I've been PvPing for most of that as well. My life goal was always to hit rank 1, and I hit rank 1 on disc season 1 of Shadowlands. And I could always, after that, my plan was always just to settle down, get a dog, which I now have, play as a more casual player. You can find me on the Warcraft Recorder Discord and Twitter account, Alex Smite. So.
Amazing.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Upsetting girlfriends. That's the classic WoW PvPer moment.
Yeah. Well, see, I always had it in my back pocket that I met my girlfriend 4.5 years ago now, but WoW was long predated that. So I always had it in my back pocket, like, this isn't new. This is who you met, you know?
Yeah, you knew who I was before I put on the mask. But it's true though. I have exactly the same situation. So I think it's pretty synonymous now. It's sort of like, oh, what kind of video games do you like? It's like, yeah, you like COD? It's like, yeah, I like COD. COD's okay. And then they get to know you more, and then it's like, yeah, so I play this game called World of Warcraft, and it consumes me. I hope you're happy with that.
Yeah, it's a bomb to drop, isn't it? I held off for a few weeks at least.
Yeah.
But I think it was mid-tier that we met, so I did have to. I think I was raiding 5 nights at the time, so I did have to spill it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like at that point you would have to. I remember I had a girlfriend once who was like, oh, I was like, oh, you into games? Like, yeah, I like to play games. I was kind of playing off. She's like, yeah, you know what? As long as you don't play World of Warcraft, like I think if you play World of Warcraft, that would be like the worst thing ever. And at that point, my heart dropped. Safe to say, I don't date her anymore.
How did you back out of that conversation? Did you have to lie?
I 100% lied, and I told her like a year in that's what I played, and I told her that moment was excruciating for me. So,
wow, that's interesting. So do you guys want to just talk about that instead of Warcraft Recorder? Do you want to just like talk about relationships and WoW and how that, I think that could be a topic all on its own.
That's Pandora's box. I think that you open that up and that doesn't stop.
Yeah. So my goal was always to get her into it, but I've failed at that every turn. I think she got to level 13 when I really tried years ago.
That's impressive. That's 13 levels of trying to do that. That's 13 more than my girlfriend would do.
My second wife got into it. She really enjoyed it, and got all the way to max level, and we played together for a while. That was at the end of, I want to say it was at the end of Legion, and then BFA just it just wrecked it for her. And then Shadow, she actually got it. We went to Shadowlands, and I think season 1 of Shadowlands, she's just like, nope, and just let her account lapse and whatever. So
I'm always enough to put anyone off.
Yeah. Exactly. Has dragon riding not like enticed her back?
It's enticed her, but not enough to spend the money on. Just because there's a bunch of other stuff going on. Like, she's super busy at work. She's been working to get a promotion, so that's been taking a lot of her time and effort. Yeah. So it makes no sense to spend. Yeah, it makes no sense for her to spend money on a monthly subscription to then not use it because she's busy working and life. So
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Plus some other things in life have been keeping us busy. But speaking of keeping us busy, why don't we first roll into talk about what we've been up to since our last show for the last 2 weeks? For you, Alex. So what have you been up to these last 2 weeks, man?
Yeah, I've had quite a busy time working on Warcraft Recorder to support all the new Dragonflight stuff. I guess we're going to get to what Warcraft Recorder actually is, so I won't go into specifics. But I've also been playing a lot of Solo Shuffle, which I'm surprised by how much I'm enjoying. I had a bit of a rough start into Solo Shuffle. I got to like 1600, and then I lost a big game and went down 100 rating. And I was like, oh my god, my class sucks, my team sucks. And then I was reading Reddit in bed, and I read a post that said, solo shuffle is a rude awakening for lots of players who think they're good but are actually bad. And I was like, oh my god, this is me. I'm bad now. But
Yeah,
I got back to it the next day, and I hit 2.1 today, so I'm feeling a little bit
nice.
better about myself.
Congratulations, dude.
That's awesome.
I do.
I'm assuming you're queuing simply as a healer, right? Or are you queuing as
Yeah,
DP?
indeed.
Okay.
I'm queuing his discs slowly.
How,
But
how
it's
are
really
you?
nice that you get specific ratings for like each spec. I'm really liking that.
Yeah. I have to ask, how are you feeling the queues? Because I know, like, on DPS, they're saying it's like 30 minutes plus or whatever. Some people are sitting in queues for over 45 an hour. I'm assuming you're sitting less than that if you're a healer, right?
Yeah, all my queues have been instant, which has been great. One of the reasons I haven't even thought about playing DPS. Yeah.
Nice. And have you run into the whole thing where people were queuing in, and then if there's, if you're up against somebody that's a much lower rating, you didn't actually get any rating gain or anything like that? Did you run into anything like that?
Yeah, I've had a few like that. I even don't understand it though, because you can see their MMRs at the end of the game, and I'm always trying to do like some quick mental maths, being like, oh, that guy's really low, so this is probably not going to be a big win, or I'm much lower than everyone else, and I've just won 6 rounds, so surely I'm getting, the big points. It never pans out. I don't understand it. But I've definitely had like a 6 win round that gave me like 50, and then like
Mm.
a 2 win round that also gave me 50. So I don't know how it works.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think anybody's figured out the algorithm yet. Uh, well, I'm sure somebody's working on it. Somebody's going to get all the data together and figure it out. Speaking of getting the data together, Jake, I know you did you put out a video recently on Shaman. Did that take a lot of data gathering?
I definitely spent time on it. That's for sure. I definitely spent a period of time on it, but it's very interesting because Shaman, at least in the last like I'd probably say like the last 3 expansions, so sort of BFA, Shadowlands, now even Dragonflight. It's one of those specs, especially Elemental. It's one of those specs that just sits at like a high mid tier and just doesn't move. So like it doesn't matter what like classes pass it, classes go down, classes go up, and that's what I found so interesting, especially going to solo shuffle, where it's really for me, kind of like pointed out the certain weaknesses of the class of the spec for me in terms of the way that like you'll have like a demon hunter, a warlock, and like even like a shadow priest in there, all of which you have like really strong defensive cooldowns, and I have one that I can't even use in a stun, and it kind of really highlights to me how difficult that is at least in solo shuffle, to do that way when you're not playing with something that kind of like like you'll be the target the entire time, so that can be kind of
Mhm.
a bit rough. But to be honest with you, I've been playing way too much Shadow Priest, and I've been enjoying that a lot. So that I did. I think I got my 2-1 recently on that, which was really fun. Again, I've had games where I've like I think my last 2 solo shuffles I've waited 30 minutes to lose 50 points twice. So
Oh,
yeah, and it's basically been like Demon Hunter double Warlock, and then
yeah.
it's like one priest and then one evoker, and the evoker just absolutely slams the priest completely. So it's
Yeah,
like
evokers seem to be very much slamming everything.
yeah, they're so
Yeah.
good, and the problem is that because they're such a good class, like it's kind of like it like a really good evoker is just miles ahead of
Hmm.
everyone, and it's so obvious, and you can kind of go like if like you could be on the same team as the warlock, and the priest is absolutely struggling to keep you up, like really having to play out of his mind to kind of be there. The evoker's just kind of chilling, doing whatever he wants with the kind of weaker teammates, and you can really feel that. Like that feels very difficult, I think, to kind of handle that sort of situation. I'm both loving solo shuffle and kind of hating it a little bit. I've definitely never felt as triggered or as angry out of the people before, but it's like I mean, like if I read that Reddit post that you read, Alex, I probably would have like cried myself to sleep, going like maybe I am just awful. I'm just an awful fucking player. Like it's just bad. It's so bad. And and like that would have been me for the night, So um I think it's just like I don't know what to think anymore about it. I was really excited for it, and that's just all of my opinions in a short little segment. There we go.
Same with the Ellie Shaman as well. It's like the gloves are totally off in solo shuffle because everyone's just running in and popping all their CDs. Like
Yeah,
when I played threes last expansion, it was always like, oh, you'll wait for your moment to pop the PI and the mind games.
mm.
Now it's like the second you've got a spare global to cast, you just use everything you can, and
Yeah,
everyone's doing that.
exactly. And I feel that with Shadow Priest as well. Like it's sort of there's a bit of a cheese sort of one shot you can kind of do at the minute, but
Mm.
what the way that I've been kind of feeling it is that you've got to cast everything. Like you've got to fear, you've got like 5 different globals to press before you can do it. And there are so many other classes at the minute where you just kind of like you can get that insane um kind of like one shot capability, and all they have to do is just like press 2 globals. And I think you can feel that as a caster, I think. So it's definitely difficult as a ranged DPS right now, especially after, like as we said, 40-minute queues. And I've had 40-minute queues. I mean, I watch stuff on my other screen whilst I do it, but
Hopefully that's improved. So hopefully they can entice some people to play healer because
Whoa.
the 40-minute queue is quite painful.
Well, I
Yeah.
think I read some stuff. I don't know if you saw this as well, Gareth, about or you, Alex, as well on Twitter about like just healers in general talking about how the dampening really makes it annoying for them because it feels like they really have to play out their mind. Like well, Alex, you probably have experienced this, but at least I've seen it. A lot of people talk about it with the way that healers are going. It's the dampening so intense that you
Mhm.
can't enjoy yourself. There's no like chill time as a healer. It's just
Yep.
full on, just non-stop, like perpetually. So I'm kind of feeling like I understand why people have switched away from wanting to play healer, or why people might find twos a struggle. And maybe the solution to that is to kind of buff every single class that isn't an evoker and bring it up to the same level, or maybe same level as the rest of druid and evoker, because those 2 classes feel really good.
Yeah. I have seen that. I've seen that, as well as I've seen people um, get perturbed when they're getting yelled at by their teammates in chat for not healing, while the healer's sitting in CC and the DPS that's crying isn't kick. There's been 0 kicks.
Yeah, yeah.
I had that today. I had a rogue who ran in and died immediately without using any defensives, and then like I got him in the next round. He was like, "No heals?" Question mark. But
The
I've,
classic.
I've told myself that I will not talk in chat ever in solo shuffle because 10 years ago me would be in League of Legends being like, "What are you doing, jungler?" and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm an adult now. I'm not. So I've just decided I won't chat ever.
Instead, when they die, you just run over and teabag them. That's the more adult approach. I feel like that's the thing you do. You're not saying anything. You're not being toxic. You're just slowly rising and falling on your character.
Yeah, you're trying to decide if you want to sit or stand. That's all.
Yeah,
It's
you just bam that button. Just pressing that button.
So, question: have either of you, out of a solo shuffle, ignored it, put anybody on ignore? Have you gone so
Yes.
far as that somebody's been so like you're just like, I never want to play with this person again? Right click, ignore. Jake, you said
Never
yes.
done that myself,
You
but
haven't done that?
You've
Okay.
not, Alex. You've not had people whisper you. Like I don't know if I've done if you've done that, but I've had people like spam whisper me, and and sadly I sometimes rise to the bait a little bit, and you do that really childish thing. Well, at least I've been doing this really childish thing, which is where you get the last word in and then you instantly ignore them. You just got to be done, because then obviously they respond back and it's like, you can't find this player, and it's infuriating. They're like, no, I wanted to say you're the loser. you, you know Not that I ever said that, but it's just kind of like I've had people, I've had warlocks kind of like message me going like, why can't you just why can't you just live? Like, what's the situation? I'm like, dude, I'm not immortal like your class. I can't get from one side of the pillar to the other very, very quickly. I was not
Yeah.
near your gate at that point. Like, maybe that's a positioning problem by me, but at the same time, it's sort of like I also have to try and do damage to people running behind pillars. So, it was very much one of those sort of situations, and I just had to kind of just say, "Why don't you learn to fear?" and then ignored him. It was really bad, but I had to do that. That's when I remembered I did recently. So
I've just got lucky. I've not had anyone whispering me. I think I would be fully wound up.
Huh.
it's because you're a healer. Everyone's like, well, they blame the healer like in public chat, so you can just ignore that. But when someone kind of whispers you after the game and goes like,
Yeah.
"Bad healer,
Late
switch
game.
class,
Yeah.
uninstall," you're kind of like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
KYS.
yikers."
Ugh.
Yeah, that's the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe people do that. All right. No, I was just kind of curious because I was wondering if there's been any like noticeable you know queuing up, running into a person regularly, and then they get super toxic, right click, ignore, and then don't see them ever again. Because I don't know if the system actually uses that as part of its group making algorithm or not.
It's
So
a good question, actually. That's a very good question. I don't know.
yeah,
I've not seen this guy again, but I've only queued twice since I ignored him. So
hmm,
I'd be
interesting.
surprised if it does, to be honest. It would be brilliant if it did, but I feel like that's
I
something
actually,
that.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if they did that, but we'll see. Uh, I guess I'll just talk about myself quickly. What have I been to? Ran some keys last night on my paladin. Really enjoying the dungeons. And then on my warlock, I went around and did a bunch of been doing the PvP world quests. Those are fun. Right up until I get dive bombed by some evoker or demon hunter and it just erases me because you know super class over, and I'm just a poor little warlock under geared. I'm trying to say that with a straight face. It's fun though. And then just been been trying to get Warcraft Recorder working on my computer, but it seems like my computer is struggling a little bit with resources. And then I didn't have Simple Combat Logger installed, and finally I went back and looked through some previous helps there and saw that people did that. So I was like, all of a sudden I did that, and hey, it worked. So and I get to
Awesome.
actually start looking back at all my bad moves and seeing what I did really badly, not just what I think I did. But that's about it. Just quickly, we're already talking quite a bit. We haven't even got to the first segment. Just what are you guys going to do over the holiday season? Are you taking any time off to play WoW, or Jake? I'm going to ask you first because you're the you're the one that
I'm the
has
what?
a second job as a Warcraft content creator. Are you gonna be streaming in that over the holidays, buddy?
So I definitely won't be doing anything content related over Christmas. I think I'm gonna make a video. I think I'm gonna release a video, but that doesn't require me to do anything other than release it and put it on social media. That's actually not a hard thing to do. I won't be doing any. I don't think I'll be doing any gaming on Christmas or Boxing Day as well, which is obviously the day after Christmas for people in the UK. So I'm not working those 2 days, either jobs. So that's going to be really great. So yeah, I'm doing nothing really. I've got the
Nice.
next 2 days off to do everything that I want to do, and I'm working until Christmas Eve, and then I'm off the next off Sunday and Monday.
Okay. Nice. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, I'm off as of Thursday until the new year. I'm not sure how much WoW I'm planning to play. I'm definitely planning to do some work on Warcraft Recorder. I've got a bunch of features in mind,
All right.
but I also have family coming to visit.
Uh,
We've got my side of the family coming to stay for Christmas, and two very big dogs coming with them. So we're scurrying around preparing for that.
all right. That sounds fun and exciting. I look forward to seeing what those new content ideas are for the new features, if you will. I myself, I have some time off, but being also a dad and similar family coming to visit, so I'll probably try to squeeze in a few hours here and there, but definitely not spending a whole day or two in front of World of Warcraft. That would probably result in me living in the doghouse for a while. All right.
I was about to say, you should get the children involved in some sort of min maxing keys idea of like you don't have to actually take part. The kids just grind the keys for you.
That is tempting. We'll talk after.
That'll be $50 for my idea. No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's get into the nitty and pass, and we'll see what Jake has for us to talk about today.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right. So, Jake, it was your turn. I forgot to ask you before we started recording. Do you have a knee green pass ready for us?
I do. I even have it written down. I'm so
Oh,
prepared.
Look at that! Wow, you
I
are
know.
more
I did.
prepared than I have ever been.
I remembered this time, which is the main thing. We were talking about Solo Shuffle, and luckily, because that's what I wanted to go for. Solo Shuffle is the big PvP I guess, new feature to Dragonflight that
Indeed.
is heavily talked about by us, the PvP is, not so much about by Warcraft themselves as much as we would have liked. So therefore, I feel like officially, let's talk about. Well, let's put that scenario in. Right, the scenario is okay that you are in a solo shuffle, and you have three options. You have three classes. You need and greed and pass the options that you want. So need is the option that you want the most. Greed is the second option, and pass you kind of just get rid of. Whatever you need is going to be playing on your side, and kind of the other two are going to be against you. So the classes that you have as an option, just think about yourself in this case, whether DPS or as a healer. You've got Warlock, Demon Hunter, and Shadow Priest. So I think those are probably the three most OP I can think of in terms of the solo shuffle. Warlock, Demon Hunter, Shadow Priest. You want to need, greed, and pass which ones you want to play on your team. And the other two will be facing you.
Oh boy. So we're not playing these are the people that are playing with us.
With us, yeah. So think about your class, like, whether you're a healer or as a DPS. This guy, whoever you choose as need is on your team.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna be cheesy. I'm gonna pick Warlock because I just think double Warlock would be just stupid fun and
Yeah.
overpowered. And yeah, so I'm gonna do that. And that's the only reason, just because double Warlock. Why not? And then if I had to, I would greed on Demon Hunter because those I think a Demon Hunter would go well with Warlock. Well, I'm probably wrong, but I feel like it. And then I'd have to pass on Shadow Priest because I'd just like to be able to teabag Jake, knowing that he would die.
Yeah. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I have heard. I'm not even going to say it. Moving on, Alex. You're go.
Yeah, I'm going to need the Warlock as well, just because I don't know if I've beat any Demo Warlocks yet this expansion. They just seem really good. And after maybe 15 years of playing against Warlocks, I still don't really know what they do. So that's probably making them better when they're against me anyway. And I'm gonna greed the Shadow Priest because they just seem unkillable just now.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you're passing on the Demon Hunter then?
It does, yes. Although Demon Hunter seem great too.
Yes. I mean, the aim was to make it a hard choice, but I seem to have failed by adding Warlock because I also am needing a Warlock, regardless of what class I play, whether it's Elemental Shaman or Shadow Priest. They are probably the best ones out there. You love a good wizard cleave. I'm going to. I think because Ellie is my main, I'm going to greed the Shadow Priest as well. Mostly because if I were to swap, like if we were doing a solo shuffle and we were swapping, and I'm going to be playing with the Shadow Priest, Shadow Priest Ellie actually isn't too bad. So I think that would be really, really fun. And then I'm going to pass on the Demon Hunters because hate Demon Hunters, and yeah, that's the only reason. So I think the talking about data, it's quite clear that Warlocks are absolutely busted. Based on this short summary of opinions, and therefore should be nerfed.
Oh yeah, some real data I was about to ask. Yeah. It's our opinions. Very good.
Exactly. No, this is real data. If the devs are listening, we've done our research, and it's quite clear that Warlocks need another nerf. So roll on after Christmas.
Let's be honest here. You don't have any data, really, Jake. You only wanted a Warlock on your team so that you wouldn't have to see all the nameplates from all their imps when they're on the enemy team.
I don't see the nameplates of the imps. I don't. I figured that out. So I'm gonna take that one.
All right. You take that W then.
Yeah,
all right.
The thing that gets me about those imps is that Priest Fear only fears 5 targets. So if you're going in to fear someone and the imps are about, it's just a gamble. You don't know what's going to happen. You
it is
5 imps or 3 players.
Yeah, and you know the worst part is like if you want to do your go on the demo with the kind of cheese build of Shadow Priest, you got to do the fear first to get the Mindbender out. So I go and do the fear, and it's just the 5 imps that have been feared, and the warlock's just chilling there, going like, "What you doing?" So it's like, what am I meant to do? Like pop my cooldown? I could technically target one of the imps and pop the Mindbender and still kind of technically work, but then the warlock's just gonna, I don't know, stun me or kick me or something like that, something crazy.
Working as intended. That's all I have to say.
Hmm.
All right, let's get into some PvP events, and then we'll get into the subject analysis here.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right. Only PvP event that we actually know of at this moment is the AWC and MDI got announced for 2023. Signups are open now, so if you're interested in either of those esports, get your name in now. The first AWC Cup is going to be, well, the broadcast is going to be the 20th of January, but I think the offline is going to start on the 18th of January. So if you want to get in there, get in now. MDI, the time trials are going to start on the 1st of February, and then the cups will be after that. They did also announce that the Great Push is going to return. This time, it's not going to be like an add-on or like a kind of whimsical, hey, this ought to be fun, but it's actually like a full-on part of the esports, which means it's going to have one heck of a prize pool. But we're not going to see that until season 2 of this expansion. So probably after the summer, we'll see how that is. And oh, do you guys see? So it looks like Warcraft was able to break from the exclusivity contract with YouTube, and they're going to be broadcasting on both YouTube and Twitch, which is awesome. I can't wait.
That is awesome. I
Yes.
think there was something, wasn't there something about Twitch though that wasn't there something they made a change recently that allowed you to have a do like a multi broadcast between YouTube and Twitch if you were a partner. I think there was something that happened recently where they've allowed it to happen to allow there to be a bit of spread, mostly because of the way that people have been wanting to split from Twitch anyway. I think I
Um,
saw that somewhere. I don't know if that's just me going crazy or I'm
Alexa,
like,
turn on games room.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, like whether like whether I'm just sort of like, just going mental or something like that. But one of those sort of things. I'm fairly sure that happened. But either way, good news.
Yeah. So, yes, Twitch did change for partners. It allows you for co-streaming, but if I remember correctly, if you want to put it onto YouTube or Instagram, it's only for shorts. The other platforms were, it wasn't like you couldn't co-stream, like so you can do like a 6-hour co-stream on multiple platforms.
Oh,
So
I see.
it
Okay.
was still very restrictive. Just you're right over there, Alex. Did your computer decide to shut down all the lights and everything and put you in the dark?
Yeah, hopefully my audio didn't come through. I did try and mute my mic. My Alexas turn off my my lights at 11:30. Normally if we're going to bed, but it's obviously a later night for me tonight. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's really cool that Alexis was so kind to do what she normally does. Uh, I was just kind of curious. It's just kind of funny because all of a sudden I saw the whole room just get dark, and then you're like,
yeah, it's always a bit of a surprise.
As long as you're nice to Alexa, you got to say please and thank you just in case of the robot revolution.
exactly.
Yeah, she is getting a bit more chatty. I've noticed recently. Keeps trying to suggest things like when I want to know like the time, and then she's like, "Oh, did you know you can also ask me this?" And I was like, "Do what you're told, robot. Do what you're told, or you're going out."
The day. I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous. One day Amazon's gonna parcel you.
Mhm. I already have a wife telling me things that I should do or not do. I don't need Alexis to do it for me to do that.
Oh,
That'd just be too much.
listen, Gerissar, it's 2022. You can't be saying that. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry, Alexis.
Yeah.
Send your hate mail to technicallypvp@gmail.com. In the meantime, let's get into the subject of analysis and let's talk about the Warcraft Recorder.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right, Warcraft Recorder. So Alex, you're the one that made it. I mean, I could probably talk about it, but why don't you? What is this thing, and why is it important to us?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the start if that's all right.
Sure.
This actually came out of a hackathon at work. So I work for a pretty major software firm that you've definitely heard of and may have made your operating system. And they had a hackathon this year, or last year.
Yeah.
They have a hackathon every year in September. And this is how the project started. I was browsing the topics for the hackathon, the other teams, and I saw this like Cloud9 sponsored World of Warcraft team on the go, and there was like 6 people in it, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome! I can do World of Warcraft related stuff at work." So I signed up, and then I got there on the day, and I was the only one. Everyone else had, for other reasons, cancelled, or not shown up, or been too busy with work to make it. So I was on a call with the folks from Cloud9 without any ideas. And I was like, why am I the only person here? There was meant to be a team leader, but they are not here. So I went away and I came up with some ideas. And at the time, Squad OV was something I just tried, and I really like the functionality. Like having replays on demand is awesome. I still think it's a really awesome idea. But I did get a bit frustrated with the app because, like, for me personally, I just wanted, local recordings. I wanted to save a file to my hard drive and have it accessible. I didn't want to wait for it to upload to Google Cloud because at the time I had a pretty slow connection and it took maybe 5 minutes. But at that time I was in my next game and I'd forgotten what I wanted to see. And it also kept asking me to log in all the time. And maybe it speaks to my personality that just wound me up because I kept forgetting my password and you know how it goes. So I was like, right, well, I can just remake Squad OV in my image of what I think it can look like. And so I did that, and the hackathon lasted 2 days, and I was the only person working on it. And I wrote it in Python using some UI framework. It looked dreadful. If I could share a screenshot just now, I would, but it would probably be too embarrassing. But it did work, and I used it for a little while.
Okay.
And then like Christmas time last year, I think I decided like, hey, I want to try some new cool technology that lets you like make good looking applications.
Okay.
And so I thought, right, we're gonna bin all the Python stuff and I'll remake it in TypeScript and Electron. And so I started that on my own, kind of as an independent project. And that's what Warcraft Recorder has evolved into. It started out just as an arena thing, and I posted it in the World of PvP subreddit a few months back, and it got quite a lot of hits there. And so there was maybe 100 users by this point, and people were asking for battlegrounds, and people were asking for Mythic Plus and raids as well. So I was also raiding. I was like, well, this would be cool for raids. Squad OV did raids, must be possible. Why not? So I started kind of like implementing all the little bits and pieces. And then Classic came along and I did the same there. So now it kind of covers like everything in my opinion that's like competitive in WoW that you would want to have recorded. Some bits are more developed than others. Like battlegrounds, we actually can't tell who's won a battleground because the WoW combat log doesn't tell us. So we do some hacky stuff to kind of count the deaths and make an assumption of who's won. But for arena, which was like the fundamental part of it, it's pretty reliably getting a lot of that information out and storing all of the videos off. So there's a lot of room for further development still. But the principle is that you put it in your background, you ignore it, you go and play an arena session, and you can come back between the games if you want to, or after the session, and either like look at the replays to see what you've done wrong, or see what you could have improved on, or maybe realize there's nothing you could have improved on, and you can blame your teammates. Or alternatively, make your PvP montage at the end of the season with all the recordings that are neatly packaged up for you.
Nice.
Perfect.
I love it. So if I understood it correctly, it works completely off of your combat logs. So you obviously have to have combat logging enabled, and so it is constantly checking your combat log, and then when it sees that you've entered into an instanced gameplay, whatever it is, then it starts video recording your screen capturing, and then once that combat ends, then it will finalize, and then you can take a look at the video itself. So
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, nice. I like it.
So it is kind of a dialed back version of Squad OV. I
Yeah.
watched the Squad OV podcast a while back, and there was obviously loads of stuff in there, like you can watch it with your squad and stuff. That's not something that Warcraft Recorder does at the moment, or is likely to do anytime soon. Because ultimately, like, this isn't my job. This is a hobby project that I thought would be fun to share and that other people could make use of.
No, I appreciate that. And I think the whole thing about being able to share with your friends, your squad, that's why it was an online. That's why I had to put everything up in the clouds. Then it used all that cloud sharing versus, I mean, clearly you don't want people uh, literally dialing into your hard drive to watch your videos. That would,
Yeah, I'm sure that would raise all sorts of eyebrows.
yeah.
Although I've definitely got an appreciation for how much Squad of You actually did. I think in my initial Reddit post to World of PvP, I was like, Squad of V, it works, but I don't like this and this and this and this. But actually, like, looking back at it now, it's quite amazing how much Squad of V did, and I think I do have like kind of a newfound appreciation for how much work went into that project and how much like technical hurdles they actually had to get over to make it work.
Yeah. No, I know Mike sounded like when we were talking with Mike, he sounded like he really knew his stuff, but it sounded like it was quite difficult to get it to where it was. And I think he wanted to do more with it than he was able to. But he ended up running into some major issues. Primarily
Yeah,
being cloud servicing is not cheap.
yeah, certainly. I saw a statistic or a fact. I think maybe he posted in his Discord. They were spending 20,000 a month in like cloud storage costs. But
Yeah.
you have to respect the ambition. Like I think it's awesome to just like go all out and try on something like that and try and make
Yeah.
it work. And if it doesn't pan out, then well, you've got something great on your CV. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for this Squad of dev. That on the other side, like Warcraft Recorder is like a fully local app. We don't use any internet connection at all, apart from maybe a single ping out to check if there's a new version when it starts up. So in theory, I can't take Warcraft Recorder away from anyone. If I decide like I hate the app and I hate all the users, well, I'm out of luck. People can use it for as long as it remains compatible with the game. Although obviously, I hope people will upgrade it and enjoy the new features as they're added. But yeah, it is like a fully offline thing. Obviously, you can't play WoW offline, so you do still need an internet connection.
Yeah. So does it work with pirate servers then too? I have to ask.
I would expect it does. Depending on what version of the game it's on. So I've
Okay.
designed retail obviously for like Shadowlands and now Dragonflight. So if there was private service for those, then yes, it would work. Obviously, I'm not endorsing that. I don't want to
Nope.
get banned.
I don't endorse it either, but I mean I know there's people out there that enjoy non-Blizzard servers, so just asking for the people. But yeah. So one thing I noticed, and I kind of mentioned this before, so you can't just download Warcraft Recorder and run off to the races. It won't quite work that well. You have to have a few other things to make it work correctly, right? So I know I think Simple Combat Logger add-on was one of the things I saw as a recommended, so that you always have that combat logging working properly to trigger it. Is there anything else that you need to have installed or recommended that to complement it? Because
Yeah, so Simple Combat Logger is the big one, and that was also a requirement of Squad OV as well, because both of the apps work in a similar fashion that we're watching the combat log that comes out, and if that combat log doesn't come out, then we're out of luck.
yeah,
There isn't
I had a
anything
black
else.
screen for a couple things. It's a little, nah. Okay. Sorry, I cut you
Yeah.
off.
No, that's fine. The only other thing is like setting up the config when the app starts. The config is one of those like kind of rough corners that I'm hoping to improve in the future releases. It doesn't do things like auto detect where your World of Warcraft is installed to, or auto give you some settings that make sense. So you do need to go through the settings page and get your config right. And I think a lot of maybe half of the issues that we see in the Discord server are people not quite getting that right. So there's definitely improvements coming in that way, but other than Simple Combat Logger, nothing is required. Although I do recommend, for multiple reasons, recommend the Jack's Surrender add-on, which converts your /AFK in arenas to a surrender command. Which,
Yes.
well, for one, it gives you honor if you surrender, and if you /AFK, you get no honor. So get yourself some extra honor. and two, it makes it a bit easier for Warcraft Recorder to finalize the video and make sure it gets all the stats right.
Good to know. Good to know. Jax does have some pretty good add-ons out there. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he does have some awesome ones for sure.
Indeed.
I
Sorry,
didn't realize how much he did. I think he does JMorph as well.
he does. He does. He does and then he started working on another add-on compilation to help convert I think it's the nameplate back to classic version. So, and then some other things. But Jake, I just realized I've been kind of monopolizing. I'm going to throw it over to you. Do you have any questions for Alex about his Warcraft recorder?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the big thing is, at least for me, I'm a content creator, first and foremost, in any aspect of WoW. How easy is it for me? Like, like let's say I just download everything, I've got all my settings correct. How easy is it for me to go from just me playing, me grinding out the games, me putting the work in, to just being able to create my montages more than anything, like to get into the any sort of software that I'm using. How easy is that? Do I need to do anything else? Is anything extra that would need to do, or what's the process behind that?
Yeah, so that's something I did actually have in mind when I created this. In BFA season 4, I made a PvP movie to just have some fun video editing. I'm sure you've not heard of it. It got about 100 views. Um, but yeah, and part of the I was going in. I was like, oh yeah, I'll spend loads of time on this. I've got a bunch of free time, and then I spent like a month going through Twitch VODs, finding clips of like the plays I wanted to include. And that was something that was really hard work. And by the time I'd done that, I was like, I don't really have any energy left for the editing. So didn't get to spend as much time on the editing as I wanted. So that was like a motivating part of this, to allow people to like quickly get their clips together. And it should be really simple for you. There's no setup you need to do. There's a folder that you select when you do the initial config that is where you store your videos. And Warcraft Recorder will just drop MP4 files in that folder that you can come back to, and they're appropriately named so you can tell what they are.
Amazing. And in terms of like flagging, like, is there a feature to kind of like flag, like you, I don't know if I know there's one for Overwolf now. I can't remember I think it's Overtune, I think it's called. But it was a feature in Squad OV, I think, as well, if you paid for it, I think near the end, where you could flag certain bits, certain games, certain parts of things. Like, and like I know, like if you're doing like a straight VOD, for example, like a full VOD, you can kind of like say, okay, yeah, this game I really want to focus on. Is there a feature for that? Like, let's say after an arena game ended, you're like, okay, yeah, that one is really good. Is there a feature for that so you can kind of like tell?
Yeah, so there is a feature for saving off a game. It's maybe not all that easy right now to find the saved game out of all the other games. And the reason for that feature existing is because one of the problems that I personally had with Squad OV was because there was a local recording mode in Squad OV,
Yeah.
which I tried out. And after deciding my internet was too slow to do the uploads, and what happened to me after a few weeks or months or however long was that it filled up my disk, and I didn't notice because it was on like a secondary disk, and it just stopped recording. So one of the features in Warcraft Recorder is that you can set like a maximum storage size, and this is kind of inspired by my dash cam, which will record like how many gigs of video that the card is in it, and then once it runs out of space, it will start clearing out the oldest recordings, so that if you crash your car, you always have the latest recording.
Okay.
But you probably wouldn't have the one from a month ago if you've run out of space. So Warcraft Recorder lets you set like, I want only 100 gig of my disk to be used by the app, and it will and when you hit that 100 gig, it will start clearing out the oldest videos. So if you have a video that you really like to play in or something, you can mark that as like a protected video, so that it's immune to getting cleared out. So I think that's not exactly what you're asking. I think it would be great to make that more obvious in the UI or make it searchable or something.
No,
That's something
that I mean, that was it. Honestly, that was pretty much what I was talking about. Yeah, like if there's an option for it. I mean, I think the thing is with anything that you're kind of coming up with, the things that you're working on, it's like it's going to be embryonic. I mean, I remember Squad of V was embryonic as well. Like it's like it takes time for things for you to work out. Okay, how can we improve this user interface? How can we make it more, like friendly for people just to kind of like press stuff? Because people are stupid, and that's just the kind of like be all end all of it. Kind of like we don't, or rather maybe less stupid, more kind of like we just don't have the time to kind of sit down and go, okay, I could probably spend my time and my energy in the same way, going through, 1 month's worth of clips. You could definitely do that. But you're kind of like, oh, I wish there was some other way because now I'm just dead to the world because you've just kind of like burnt out.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's a product of living in like the internet enabled world. Like we're all
Mm.
super busy people now, and there's no one has time. There's far too much to do. And
Yep.
yeah, I think like a big part of anything is that, or anything that's any application to be good is to have a good experience and be easy to get around. And I think Warcraft Recorder hits that in some areas right now, but there's definitely areas that are like undergoing improvement as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as you want, as long as like that's the thing. Like, it's a great piece of like software, and the fact that it can only go up is just fantastic news for any aspiring content creator or even current content creators. It's just such a good thing to get in on and invest your time in to kind of get working because having that, I think the amazing thing for me is like being able to clip those games is it just saves first of all a lot of space because there's a lot of downtime between things. Like imagine you're literally just doing solo shuffle, like there's a lot of downtime right between everything, so kind of having that wasted sort of I guess memory, which is technically what I have now with the stuff that I've just kind of fallen into since Squad of E went down. Because I know, I mean, I normally get OBS up and start recording that way, but I found that the pressure kind of makes you perform a little bit weirdly. So kind of like trying to go for that sort of natural. It's kind of recording, but kind of isn't. Is quite nice. So having that as an opportunity, I think is so good, and I think that's really awesome. I know that Squad of V, kind of one of the big things that was kind of big about it. Sorry to talk about it so much. It's just obviously the kind of like the for people listening, especially myself, it's the closest one that we've had recently to kind of like in terms of the idea. Um, in terms of sort of like actual kind of like looking back at your gameplay and actually having being able to review it. What are the kind of like what's the game plan there? What can I get my head in like what can I get my hands into? What can I do?
Yeah, so there's quite like there's a very broad scope of possibilities there. I think for me personally, I want to draw the line quite close to where we are now. I think that thing that's missing right now is the ability to jump to like interesting events in your arena games.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm thinking the likes of like trinkets or the mage popping combustion or like a warlock one shotting someone out of nowhere. That those sort of events like death events.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really have aspirations to put like a bunch of like damage graphs and stuff in it. There's a really great program called WoW Arena Logs. If you haven't heard of that, that kind of fills that niche, and they're also writing a lot of like the same style of technology as we are at Warcraft Recorder, and we chat to them quite a lot. They're awesome. So if you're after that sort of like deep analysis, I'd highly recommend WoW Arena Logs. But yeah, for Warcraft Recorder, the vision I have of it is like having easy like some neat buttons on the UI that you can jump to trinkets, jump to deaths, jump to big cooldowns or defensives.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is that an easy? Is that quite a difficult thing to do in to kind of have that as an option? Because I feel like it all depends on what you kind of consider to be big cooldowns, surely.
Yeah, and there's definitely some like scope for if we have that something that the user can configure or not. Um, but it from a technical point of view, it's very easy to do, and we actually already have a feature like this for Mythic Plus, which will allow you to jump to boss fights. You can right click on your Mythic Plus recording and say like, "Oh, I'll go to boss like whatever the boss's name is." It'll just appear in a little menu with the
Mm.
timestamp for you. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, something like that for Arena is definitely on the cards in the next couple of months.
That's awesome. That's actually such good news. I think that's such an awesome ability to be able to jump to like trinkets or deaths or as you say, big cooldowns. You can kind of like if you really wanted to analyze your gameplay like fully, you can just kind of really break it down that way, piece by piece. And I think that's really awesome. Um,
That's a hear it. The other thing I found interesting was oh, sorry to cut you off.
You say your thing first.
Sure. Was with Solo Shuffle coming out, I kind of just treated Solo Shuffle and Shadowlands a bit like skirmishes. Like it was kind of low effort because they were unrated games and people weren't taking them too seriously.
Mhm.
But that's obviously totally flipped on its head now. And all of a sudden we've got like today I had an 18-minute Solo Shuffle, and it's a little bit hard to find what I want to see in that game. So that's what I'm currently working on is having that seeking in the videos for Solo Shuffle rounds. So you can like hop to
Yeah.
round 3 and see the classes that played there.
That'd be cool. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I can only imagine trying to. Okay, round 1 was 1 minute. Round 2 was 3. Round 3 was only a minute and a half. Like it was scroll back and forth until you find what you wanted.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, for hardware though, because I know World of Warcraft can run on a very wide span of hardware, right? All the way from your most top end machine to almost a potato. Um, is there some minimums that Warcraft Recorder needs to have in order to function alongside Warcraft and not make your machine grind to a halt and feel like you're Fred Flintstone?
Yeah. There definitely does exist a minimum, as with any recording software. So this is somewhere that we do differ quite a bit from Squad OV. I think Squad OV directly went to like the Windows API for recording. So in theory, this is a strength of Warcraft Recorder that we go via OBS. OBS is obviously a massive, very developed project, but pretty much, I don't know if it's the exclusive tool for streamers, but I think it's certainly the dominant one. And it's got lots of optimizations in it, and it has all the hardware encoding bits and pieces. So that comes with like the complexity of dealing with like this interface between Warcraft Recorder and OBS, which is quite complex and is one of the harder areas of the project. And there's a complexity added by the fact that everyone has different. Well, most people have. There's a lot of different graphics cards out there.
Yeah.
A lot of NVIDIA cards, a lot of AMD cards, some other ones. So making hardware encoding, which is like kind of the gold standard here, work for everyone is a challenge. But we've definitely made like leaps and bounds recently on that. And if you can make your hardware encoding happen, then like you're in an ideal situation. Your frames in WoW should really not be affected as long as your GPU is like within the last 10 years sort of thing. And if all goes wrong, you still have the option to swap to software encoding, which is making your CPU do a bit of extra work. That's kind of where you can come into the risk of affecting your performance. And that kind of totally depends on your CPU at that point, if your CPU can handle WoW and Warcraft Recorder encoding as well.
Okay.
So sorry, I don't think I have a great answer in there. I think my best is try it and find out is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I kind of got that. Yeah, there wasn't like you need a minimum of a I don't know, like an i3 or whatever, or an AMD Radeon, blah blah blah. But it sounds like it's not that it's overly taxing on the system. It's just that you need to have something that is at least within the last, like you said, like the last 10 years, and you should be okay-ish.
Yeah, my graphics card is 9 years old, and I run quite happily with max settings and Warcraft Recorder running.
Just you mentioned OBS, top of my head. So what is thinking like Jake? Okay, so I'm streaming. I have OBS up and running, but trying to comb back through a 6-hour gaming session, streaming session, like we talked about, trying to go through that is it's not fun, not easy. Would is it okay to run Warcraft Recorder in the background of that as well, or is that going to cause some issues because you're using OBS to stream and record and all that stuff?
Yeah, so that works fine. You can definitely run both. Something that was kind of like on the cards for does this project work when I was prototyping it? Because obviously a lot of people stream their games as well. There's one like little catch there that there's 2 modes in OBS which you might be familiar with. You can do well. There's probably more modes in OBS than these 2, but there's game capture, which like kind of captures your game window directly, and monitor capture, which captures the whole thing. So if you tab out to Facebook or whatever, the monitor capture would see that, but game capture wouldn't.
Yes.
So you can only have one instance of OBS doing game capture at a time. So if you're game capturing with your OBS that's streaming, then you should set Warcraft Recorder to monitor capture.
Okay. All right. That makes. Okay. That's important to know.
Yes, yeah. You end up with a black screen, which is a bit rubbish just now. I hope they can improve that to actually like give a sensible error. But if users spot a black screen when they're recording, that's probably the reason.
Cool. And just one question, just because you kind of you didn't really give an outcome. The hackathon, where you created the software, and C9, you were talking with them. Did they use it out? Like, what did they think of the software afterwards? Did they like it? Did they like, oh, that's amazing? Or were they like, oh, thanks?
Yeah, so I did get some good feedback from them. They did say they liked it. I'm not sure it went anywhere, but I did get sent a big box of goodies from Cloud9. Got like all sorts of water bottles and caps and T-shirts. So yeah,
Nice.
I think without some additional development, like that was a project that I worked on myself in over 2 days. So I think without additional development, it wasn't in a state that it was useful. But I think they liked the idea from what I gathered.
Cool. DDO. I hope they did. I can imagine, like Chanimal or anybody else on the C9 team, looking at it going, "Hey, this is awesome! Thanks," and then who knows? Maybe not. All right.
This came from a developer on our team.
Yeah.
There you go. You suddenly it's C9 Alex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
that would be
dreams
cool.
and dreams do come true. No, I think
Yeah,
that's
I was
awesome.
really hoping to get to meet some of the C9 team, like the WoW Arena team. I never did. I should have pushed harder for it. But yeah, like I've been watching Zico for like 15 years, and a few others of them as well. They're certainly awesome players.
You should have been like, I'm not doing this project unless Zico is there working with me on the project. Like,
I need Zico standing right here behind me, cheering me on the whole way, shoutcasting the whole thing. That's
yeah, Zico's kind of like, yeah, and there's Alex, and he's just like, he's getting in the Python. He's got the Python right there. He's getting the code in. Oh, that code is just not right. It goes down. Something like that. That's exactly what I imagine Zico would do. That'd be
That would be
awesome.
awesome. Yeah.
You know
I
what?
do occasionally play against Zico, and like I always love seeing him in game. I always give him a salute when I see him.
Yeah, it's
That's awesome.
MMR Collector on Classic was always a terror.
Yes.
To queue into. It's. I think you know what. I think this is a great business idea for Zico. Zico should get on Fiverr and start doing shoutcasting on people's lives. So they're like, yo, Zico, I'm gonna pay you $10 for you to do like 30 seconds of basically shoutcasting my mate's game, and that's his birthday present. How sick would that be? That'd be insane.
That would be great.
Zico would make loads of money.
I've
Anyway.
had a few of
There'd
those
be more than
Fiverr
just
videos.
Zico making loads of money on that.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
Zico, if you want this idea, that's $50. Anyway,
You're funny. You're funny.
I'm out of questions really for now. Like I think to be honest with you, like everything that we've been talking about has been so awesome. Like I honestly really I'm really hoping going forwards you get as much support as possible, Alex, so you can kind of really like get all the things that you want to get done extra. Like all of the quality of life changes that you want to get done, because I think having this capability, even just as an arena player, just levels you up. Like think about if we had access to this technology like 10, even more than 10 years ago, like 14 years ago or something like that, people would have been so much better at arena than they even are now. Probably it would be insane. Maybe we'd be unlocking 4K rating now instead of 3K.
Buddy,
Yeah,
if you
maybe.
think my 486 would have had enough juice to be able to run this and WoW at the same time, yeah.
That's true. I do forget that technology was probably not in our favor at that point.
No.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how much open source stuff is actually built underneath here. Like I mentioned OBS, but there's probably 2,000, 3,000 packages that Warcraft Recorder uses that are just like all free on the internet. It's really all these things have come on so much in the last few years. It's really an amazing ecosystem.
That is awesome,
So
actually.
definitely only possible recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, I
awesome.
think like one thing that I've found is like people don't realize in PvP is that like you have to work things out for yourself. Like the guides are like they get outdated so quickly, even the good
Yeah.
ones. And like if you're not constantly like watching your playback and watching replays, be like, oh, could this work? Could this work? If you're not thinking out of the box, then like you won't improve as a player. And like for me, like when we were doing our push in Shadowlands, we were up against this, like we were playing Ret Water Disc, and we were up against this team that I still remember. They were a Frost DK Hunter and a Resto Druid team, and we every night like we would face into them. We weren't the type to quit. We'd keep queuing even though we were getting smashed repeatedly by this team. And they must have beat us like 2 games to 20 or something. And then like after like some discussion, like we just thought like, well, they've only got one CC button, the Hunter Trap. Why don't we just play Adaption and like never get trapped? And so like I think I was the only Disc Priest to play Adaption this season at high rating. And as soon as we swapped this out, we totally flipped the matchup on its head. I think on our alts actually they were the reason we ended up on rank 1 because like we just beat this team so consistently after we made this slight adjustment. And if no one mentioned adaption as like a strategy as Disc, it felt completely crazy. No one else was doing it, and so I think like having the ability to go back and like analyze your play and make these decisions is like something that people typically don't like. It's not like a length your casual or your typical player goes to. You have to have the drive to go and do it, and I think having the tools to make that easier kind of like pulls that bar down a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think most people they try, but again, like you said, is either you're going through hours of some stream video or some just un unedited or untruncated video stream, which is horrendous. I think this is a great start at least because then you're like, okay, it was the third game in that night, and like you said, the nameology, the labeling of it makes it pretty easy to find. And then once you add in things like the WoW Arena logs or Reflex, all these other add-ons you can use to see where you're playing. And, okay, that game I really wanted to see, then you can go find it. And it's a really good start, at least. Um, one other quick question. So I saw it when I was playing with this. There's no way to like edit any of the videos or anything like that. I saw that it just records and plays. That's it. Which someone is pretty good. Um, I am curious though. You said that it records as MP4 or as MPEG. Is there any thought or any ability to change that? Because personally, I mean, MPEG is a well known extension. A widely used encoding version of video software. But there's a bunch of other ones that don't use quite as much memory. Just kind of wondering if that's an option.
Yeah, that's not an option just now. But my knowledge of MP4s is kind of like that's just the video file I've always used, and I didn't really know anything about video encoding until starting this project. So that's the first I'm hearing that it's maybe not the best one. And if OBS can output the file type of your preference, then certainly we can implement that as a feature. So I'd love to hear more about that.
All right. I think MKV is the one I appreciate the most. It's plus if there's something because I know I use that in OBS when I record. I record as an MKV. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's MKV. And then if something botches with MPEG, it becomes an open-ended file, and then you lose your whole video. Versus MKV, it doesn't. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I will definitely take a look into that. I'll raise an issue on our GitHub page right now
Okay.
to have a look into that.
Yeah, I don't know GitHub, so I don't know how to do that. So sorry.
Oh no, don't worry. I'll do that. I'll do that.
If anybody else has any ideas, where would they do that? Like talk. So I think we just mentioned GitHub. I mean, like a quick Google search for Warcraft Recorder found me to GitHub. That's how I was able to find it. But um, what more is there? Like if somebody wants to help you out, or if somebody wants to get in touch with you to say, hey, I have an idea, how do they do that, Alex?
Yeah, so definitely Google searching Warcraft Recorder is probably the first step to get you to the GitHub page. There's a link to the Discord server on that front page of GitHub. Yeah, putting up a website or something a little bit more user friendly than GitHub's not something I have got around to, and maybe never will. But the Discord server is in the intended place to for people who are not familiar with GitHub to get involved and make suggestions. And we have quite an active server these days. I think there's 500 or 600 members. So um, yeah, if you have a great idea for something that should be included, then Discord is the place I'd love to hear about it.
All right. To Discord it is. All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have a link or something that you can share with the podcast as well.
I did. I actually linked it right at the beginning of the show. I will link it again, actually, just so that people have it.
We can put it in the show notes as well, I suppose, as well. So they'll.
Yes, we will. Yeah, but I'm putting it in the Twitch VOD as well, so that people can also find it there. So it's easy. Yeah.
Amazing.
In case anybody's watching this later on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
I
right.
think I think Discord is such a great way of getting people's opinions in and just getting feedback. Like if you're ever sort of like wondering how to get involved in anything or looking for advice or information, I think Discord is the perfect place for it, because you get access to the creators like like in such a first-hand way, which I think is so awesome, because everyone's got a Discord. Like, you can be in multiple Discords, and like you can be in Discord and, oh, Zico's actually technically in this Discord chilling. He's in there. He's probably in the chat. If you at him, he might respond to you. That's a kind of connection that you just never really had, maybe like 7-8 years ago. You like have to kind of we joined TeamSpeaks and we joined Mumble and stuff like that, and these servers that were created by other people, and that was the interaction. And whoever these big content creators were, or big creators in general, they were so far removed, but now it's so much more like interpersonal. I think it's awesome.
Indeed.
Yeah, particularly with the likes of class Discords being such a big thing now. It's almost like, I think some of them are full on organizations. They have staff and everything. It's quite incredible.
Do any of them get paid though? That's the real question. Is it worth your time?
That's really another question entirely. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's a on a need to know basis that we won't be discussing in here.
I think there's a lot of things out there that are definitely passion projects, and that's pretty much all they ever will be.
Yeah.
I am going to surmise. Just want to throw this in here. I'm going to surmise that the class discords, especially on the PvP side, are going to be much more important in this expansion than they have in previous ones. For the most part, it's been kind of hit and miss, and a lot of those have been more PvE centered discords. But I noticed that a lot of the third party websites, particularly Wowhead, did not commission any PvP high ranked PvP players to make PvP guides. So they have guides there. They're written by the PvE players, who I sure have some wonderful experience in PvP as well, and probably have a lot of knowledge. But they didn't go and get a bunch of rank 1 or gladiators like they did previously. So, and I noticed Icy Veins, they're building theirs, but they're still missing some, and I don't know of anybody else that does. So yeah, I can definitely see where, I know like Jutstar.com, Murloc.io, they have, and I think PvP leaderboards also has some ways of seeing what players are picking for their talents and their gear in that. But as far as like actual guides and talking about gameplay, I think your only real place to get that niche information is going to be at those discords. So I can definitely see that. But we're not here talking about we're talking about how to become better at PvP, but not by talking to others, but by looking at your own videos and that. But I think I'm kind of out of questions as well about Warcraft Radio or Warcraft Recorder. Sorry about that. A little Freudian slip, I think. I don't know. I don't know what else to ask. I mean, like, I think it's pretty much now. If what we've talked about intrigues you, listeners, highly recommend just Google search it, download it, join the Discord, ping Alex at any hour of the day. I know he appreciates that. Just do an @Alex or @Abba, and ask him how to set it up, and he'll help you out there. Right, Alex?
Well, I'm hoping that the guides are sufficient for setup, but certainly if you have problems, yes, give me a ping.
Especially ping him at least an hour from now. I think
Yep.
that's a good time. It's like 1, 2 a.m. I think at night. I think that's a good time. Sounds like a good time.
Maybe 3 a.m. Yeah.
You would have just finished queuing, right? That's
Well, if you do that, you won't be getting a response until the morning, I'm afraid. But I'm always keen to see the issues coming in, and particularly like on my lunch break at work, I'll be checking my phone to see if I can help with like some issues that are like easier ones to solve without that I don't need my computer for.
How do you manage that? Actually, that's a good question. That's something to think about because obviously you've got your main work, your main job, and then obviously, you know, Warcraft Recorder is a big project to do kind of in your free time. How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, well, I definitely upset my girlfriend at sometimes
Mhm.
by taking time out of our weekends. It's definitely a challenge. I think for me, like a lot of people at my in software jobs, they talk about like finishing up their day and they're desperate to get outside. I think I've just like spent my whole life playing WoW, so I'm quite happy to go from one computer to the next and just like
Mm.
continue writing code. Um, so it is a struggle, and there is days that I have to be like, this person's hit an issue, like I don't have time to help them, like
Mm.
sorry,
Uh-huh.
I'll come back to it another day. So it is definitely a challenge, but
Yeah.
I try my best.
And it's hard to kind of come back to that another day. Like it's sort of you have so much going on in your life. There are sometimes, unfortunately, people that do slip through. So I really empathize it because I get the same. Like a lot of people go on to Discord and message me about stuff, and sometimes you're just so overwhelmed by absolutely everything. It can be really tough. So, for people listening, if you do contact anyone, please be patient. We'll get there. Especially Alex, who's incredibly busy, doing seemingly just an incredible, incredible work life, and as well as doing Warcraft Recorder for all the rest of us. So really appreciate that.
Indeed. Well said. Since you're so good at saying things, do you want to ask the last
No.
question?
Yeah. Okay. So we always ask this question, and it kind of changes a lot depending on how you perceive it. But what is the one thing you would change if you had ultimate your power in Blizzard? You had a lot of money, almost, let's say, innumerable money, like it's just constant flow of money. Can't remember the word. I don't know why I had to take such a roundabout way of saying that. Unlimited money is what I was trying to say. What would be the one thing you change about it? Like it can be Warcraft, Blizzard, whatever you like.
I suppose the classic answer is to buff my class. Um, I think I would make a Wrath of the Lich King movie.
Oh,
When I was young, I read the Christie Golden book, which I've forgotten the name for, but it was something around the Lich King. Arthas, Rise of the Lich King, maybe.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
And I loved it, and I would love to see a movie version of that.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think honestly that's probably one of the best responses. I think that's definitely very topical. Who would be Arthas though? That's the
But yeah,
I
I've
think
seen
we
some
already know
tweets
the
about
answer to
this.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to go with Henry Cavill. I don't have a better option.
yes,
But he would be excellent. And you can actually, I don't know how much you can see in my video, but I've actually got a
Yeah.
poster or a display of the Lich King up on my wall.
that's
That's
awesome, man.
awesome.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is definitely the guy I think I'd go to as well. I think he'd be awesome. I think there was a lot of I don't know if you I'm assuming both of you watched the Warcraft movie that did come out. Um, I probably watched that a fair few times. It's just the thing for me that I felt that was so sad about it was that I felt like it had so much potential, but they just rammed so many characters and some just I think just some slightly weird sort of scripting into it that kind of just felt like it made it feel a little bit flat. But all the fight, I used to skip. I used to watch it, and I used to skip all the dialogue apart from the fight scenes because I thought they were awesome. Like, that's what I used to do for that Warcraft movie. I used to keep watching that over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was so excited when that came out. I think I watched it about 6 times in the cinema as well. That's the type of thing that I live for. Like it's
Yeah,
the excitement of like something like that coming out and getting to go and see it first time.
exactly. And there's some delete. My favorite one is there's a deleted scene I think where it's the Frostwolf clan are just chilling around, and Gromash Hellscream comes along and he goes like, Duratan, why haven't you let your warriors drink the fell? And he's like, oh, I don't, because I think we're all good, strong here. And he's like, oh, we don't need the fell. We're already strong. And Gromash goes, why be strong when you can be stronger still? And then they just go, but you're green. And they just start laughing. And I thought that was such an amazing piece of dialogue. And such an incredible, why they left it out is beyond me. In terms of that, but it was like that entire scene was the best bit of dialogue in the entire film, and it wasn't even in there. So I think that's a real shame. So hopefully, with your unlimited money, Alex, and unlimited power, like Ian on a string, they're all on a string. Bobby's kind of dancing to your tune, your little Pied Piper tune. There would be a Wrath of Lich King video film that is done correctly with Henry Cavill as Arthas, watching him slowly fall to the influence of the Lich King.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, there's a certain acquisition going through just now you may have heard of Activision Blizzard. So hey, maybe in 10 years' time I'll be leading the Warcraft movie development.
That'd be awesome.
I'll be watching, and then I'll be like, I spoke to that guy on a podcast, and now he's cast me as an extra. So thank you, Alex, in advance.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lack of like WoW content like that. Like the Warcraft movie was awesome, but I really loved the classic intro, particularly the first classic song in the tavern.
Yeah,
with all the famous people in it. That was so cool. I think I've watched that 100 times over as well.
yeah, that was sick actually. I think that's the thing that we don't have as much of that, and I think that's because you know what, we were talking about this earlier. It's because attention spans are, I think, so short. Like you don't get the same epic things. Like think about like some of the kind of I like to bring up Nixium, because Nixium for me is the kind of like big one in my head. Who used to make all these like machinima stuff and like these really cool stories, and like, or there'd be like other big machinima projects over the years that have been made that had like there's such epic storylines, and they used to watch all of these and be like, whoa, this was so cool. Or like even the kind of old school PvP movies from people, like people actually took the time to make these really big cool things, and it was really awesome. Like I was lucky enough to first of all make one for myself, but also I made a proper classic one for a rank 1 rogue guy called Rec, and he was awesome. And I actually got to upload it to, I think, is it Arena Champions or something? No, Warcraft Movies. That's it. I uploaded it to Warcraft Movies, and that was awesome. And that was like a lifetime goal for me to do all of that. But you don't kind of get that anymore. Like none of the big guys, like like Waz won't be turning around and making the next installment of Waz anytime soon, because
as that stops, really, that's a shame.
Well, it doesn't exist anymore. Like I mean, people do kind of do it, but it's so much effort for how little money it gives you, especially on YouTube.
Yeah,
like
I don't know if you've seen that guy D, I think his name is. I think he does like the AWC movies, the editing and stuff. And he did like a Sea-Doo video when he won the AWC. I really loved that. I think he did one of the Waz movies as well, maybe Waz 3, which was awesome. But yeah, I think I've not seen any come out recently from the top players like that.
I mean, I did. I think so. Another guy I also got to work with that was really cool was a guy called Mir, and he's like a rank 1 rogue player. And
yeah, I know him.
Yeah, so I did a lot of his like early videos when he released like starting to trying to do like some sort of like more chill gameplay stuff. And his sort of like Mir 4, Mir 5, and Mir 6, they're kind of like 118K views in comparison to his older ones that have got like over 200. And although they're kind of like like sort of 3 or 4 years ago, there's not as much interest, and I just don't think people have the I don't know, like the sort of attention span to actually sit down and go, yeah, you know what, I will watch these movies, I will watch this. So kind of like, and I feel like that's the same with any sort of like big major production video, especially something about WoW. They feel like they have to do something like that kind of like grabs your attention. It can't be that slow build up, because nobody will be like, well, I'm just sitting here watching after this kind of like woo his horse to sleep or something like that. And they're kind of like, oh, where's the action? Where's the fight? Where's the zombies? that kind of thing. So I feel like
Um,
it'd be nice to kind of have if people didn't have that.
I think part of it's also like, yeah, after you watch 3 montages of a rogue sapping, corroding, smoke bombing, and then killing somebody, do you really need to see a fourth montage of exactly the same thing?
I think you know what nowadays. I think actually it's literally just how many big names has this person smashed. You
True.
know,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what they kind of become. And I think actually, realistically speaking, what was so cool about the older style PvP montages is that there would be a story in it. Like the actual PvP side of stuff was kind of almost secondary to this amazing storyline that they were making. Like I think I can't remember the name of the guy that did it, but there was one a long time ago who used to basically like the actual PvP side of things maybe came in about 11 minutes in. The whole beginning part was this massive beef that he had with some other person, and it was just like them just sort of like smack talking one another back and forth
That's pretty funny.
for a little bit, like kind of in like
Yeah.
sort of like pseudo machinima style, and then the PvP came in and it was like a little bit of it. Like that sort of thing is epic.
Yeah. I only watched them for the uh the dubstep and making sure the kills lined up with the beat, right? Like that was
Of course.
Yeah, that was definitely a cool feature. Some of my favorite songs have come from like the Hydra movies.
right.
There's some classics in there.
Yeah, a bit of blue styley, all that kind of
Exactly.
that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sandstorm will be ever forever etched in my brain.
yeah,
uh,
maybe it is a sign of the times though I think I struggle with it personally. Like growing up with the internet instead of reading books for at least some of my life, I don't have as much time to spend on things that. Well, if I'd had a yeah, if I got more used to having a longer attention span, I think I might have.
Well, actually, to be honest, probably more than anything, if you quit WoW, you probably have plenty of time to do absolutely
beat me
everything you
to
want to
it.
do. I mean, yeah, I sadly I did jump a beat to the punch with that one, but
Yeah.
it's the truth. Like I think I found this definitely when I started doing more content creation. Like you feel like there's a need to, like you feel like if I'm not doing content, if I'm not creating content, I'm going to miss out. And I think probably the most free people in the world are, at least in the PvP scene, are the guys that are just really, really good who come in for the first like maybe 4 to 5 weeks of the season, smash out their glad, and
Yep.
then just get their gladiator mount and then just log off. And those guys are the most free people because they are literally there. They do the stuff that they want to do. And then when they want to come back, they're like, yeah, I'm like 7, 8 times multi-glad
Mhm.
but they've only played collectively for like maybe 3 days over like 4 or 5 seasons because that's all they've done. They've just come in, they've met up with their mates, they've smashed it out, and that's that. Like when you just don't care and you kind of like move on from that, you have so much time to do everything else because it does consume a lot of time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
funny.
it's always impresses me that people can do that, and it's particularly like coming at the end of the season and get all the rank ones on their 7 alts with all the different classes. Yeah,
I,
obviously I'm not that good a player, I guess, but it's very impressive to me that that some people can just come in
it's
and just
definitely
wing it like that.
it's definitely impressive. I think it's also more impressive that they have mates that are they can line up with that and have those people where it's like, okay, yeah, we're all gonna be on Monday, right? Yeah, okay, and then just smash it out and really,
There's a selective number of people, and all of those people that know one another play with each other. They don't play with anyone else. So the rest of us are going to kind of like swim through the mire of and the swamp of people, and you kind of go like, oh, you seem to not be as sticky. Do you want to play a few games? And they're all right, and then you queue up with them, and you stay with them, and they never leave you because if you leave them, that healer is going to go to someone else. So you're going to miss out on chance of like having a decent healer, and that's
Yeah,
and that's just how it works.
it is like a networking. There is like a very much a social networking part of WoW.
very
Yeah.
much so.
I've
Oh, did my computer just die? Oh no, are you back, Alex?
At
Oh,
the
did
time,
it?
I was like, "Oh,
Is it
that's my
working?
ult. I don't care." Oh
Okay.
yes, that's
No, no.
You-
Alex's lights have gone. Oh no, hold on, Alex is gone from the thing, as far as I can see.
yeah, he has a. It's okay. I'll figure that part out.
Okay.
It's just on the stream. I see him. He's He is alive. I see him on the other camera. It's just, yeah, don't worry about it.
It's okay. Um,
Still hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
I can still hear you. Yeah. What was I saying? I've completely forgot. I lost my track of thought. What were we going on about? Oh yeah, What I was gonna say. Now that I know Alex, obviously we've done some networking. I can be like, "Oh, dude, what's your battle tag? You're an EU, right?" So then I can be like, "Oh, we can play some disc game." So yeah, there we go. That's how it
Yeah,
works.
we should do it.
Yeah,
That's definitely a good idea.
There you go.
that's how networking works, guys. You only do the podcast so you can meet good players to play with you, and therefore you become a good player. You're welcome. There's a tip and trick. That'll be $50, please. Subscribe to Skill Capped Gaming for more information.
Oh my gosh. Suddenly there's going to be
Yeah,
like
but
18 different PvP podcasts popping up, which is I think would be awesome. But that'd be awesome.
yeah, this guy I was mentioning about this friend from I met 2.2 years ago. He's like the most sociable guy ever, and I'm quite reserved when I play with people. I don't chat too much, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
like go out of my way to add people, which is looking back is definitely the wrong way to go about it because he is the opposite, and he talks to everyone. He's a super nice guy. He adds everyone. He WhatsApped me today asking me how my Christmas was, even though I've not spoken to him in weeks.
That's nice.
And
That's awesome.
now he's now playing like daily with Drainer and like chatting to Meh about his like Meh was asking him for his spec the other day, you know, the AWC winner.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just like that's just how to do it. It's all like it really is a networking game.
totally. I don't disagree. But I am gonna have to try to push this along a little bit. Uh, just quickly, Jake, do you have anything you'd like to change? If you had innumerable amounts of money with unlimited power?
Yeah, remove DH. There we go. Done. You're welcome, PvPers.
Just delete Demon Hunter.
Delete
All
Demon
right.
Hunter.
Okay. It's not nice, Jake. Come on. I think if I had unlimited power and innumerable amounts of money, I would buff warlocks a little bit more because I feel like they're a little bit weak, and I
Oh.
think they need a little bit more, just a little bit more defensive, and maybe get their DPS, their damage up just about 10% or something like that. I think that's what I would do. And so you can send your hate mail to technicallypvp@gmail.com. And in the meantime, let's get into the news.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
That sounded quiet to me, but that's okay. Anyway, let's do the news. So we got, the 10th to the 11th of December, there was the second episode of the Variety Show, hosted by Taliesin and Evitel, as they went through a leveling race. There was a dragon riding relay, the Dragon Isles Expedition as a Mythic Plus showcase, and then there's the Dragon Fight, which was the 2v2 Evoker, followed by a exhibition solo shuffle, which was absolutely insane. If you can imagine 6 evokers all flying around doing their thing, it was nuts. Actually, I want to jump in when we were talking at the beginning of the show, and you guys are talking about evokers and how you can definitely tell the difference between an evoker that knows the class and like has that higher level to like a standard evoker. And I can truly say, watching watching this event where it was nothing but evokers, even then you could see the difference of like somebody who truly understood it. It was pretty cool. That said, it was also really cool to see Venruki and Sidu play together again. Uh, and then no, I think and Absturge and Trill actually for winning that tournament. They actually got knocked down to the lower bracket by I want to say Sidu and Ven, and then fought their way through the lower and came back up and won it at the end. So kudos to them. Hot fixes. Do we want to go through all the hot fixes?
I mean, there's a lot. Yeah.
There is a lot. Is it safe to say that there was a bunch of tuning? Just say.
Maybe we can go over like I think the biggest thing really to talk about that I think most people I think have been talking about is the sort of I think Shadow the kind of rogues and the Shadow Priest nerfs. Um, well, nerfs. I say nerfs. Rogues had a fair few things that have been adjusted for them, like how mind numbing poison works, and like obviously the
Yeah.
damage dealt by Asa, especially from Deathmark and stuff like that. So a lot of their damage and sub with the secret technique, which people probably have seen, has been one shotting people. Like that has been addressed. Whether or not it does anything is entirely different situation at all. Whether or not that actually makes a difference, it's 30%, which I think is quite a significant nerf. Um,
Yes.
whether it does make a difference, who knows? I know that the certain like the burst that what I was talking about earlier, the kind of cheese burst of Shadow has been nerfed, but they have buffed their consistent damage pretty much. So whether or not it's actually a nerf or not is yet to be seen. And then obviously Warlocks have got their major sort of, I guess, their sort of utility nerfed, which I think they probably needed to kind of make them less immortal, especially in solo shuffle. I think that's kind of a big one.
Yeah.
That's kind of summary, I think, really
Uh,
for PvPs.
I'll say one that really caught my eye that I was really happy to see was the Elemental Blast being nerfed by 15% in PvP. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see that. I think that was
Well,
needed.
you just
That one's got me a few times in the last couple of days. Randomly died and had to check my combat log to see what it was.
Yeah, I feel like Garrus was saying that because it's an elemental change as well, but that's fine because it literally makes zero difference to anything.
That's
For at least for
exactly what I'm
shaman.
saying.
Yeah, and exactly. At least for elemental shaman because it didn't really do much. I mean, I wasn't playing that build, but I think it got nerfed before anyway. They're just doubly nerfing it, which I'm glad for because it just didn't need to hit that hard, at least in PvP. And I know obviously the
Yeah.
enhanced one is a load of modifiers that kind of do it, so that needed to go as well. I think the other day I got hit by it for 100k, and I kind of wasn't expecting it because I was kind of like, oh, I'm kind of like at 40% health, 30% health. I think I'll be okay, and then I wasn't. It's kind of like in those moments, it's either you press disperse or you just die. So
Yeah.
I chose death.
Well, sometimes we do that.
Hmm.
I think the other one I'm happy to see is the Destro locks got a slight buff in PvP.
They
I
did,
think that.
yes.
Pardon me.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy. They needed it. They're a little low on the DPS. Versus I think Shadow Priest they got a little bit of a nerf.
Hmm.
And one that I saw and somebody else was mentioning this is that the mana regeneration of Mistweavers was reduced by another 15%. So it was 5%, now it's 15, which I thought was kind of weird considering I never thought Mistweavers were like that was their that would be a thing for them because I don't know. I feel like with all the dampening changes and everything, and I couldn't see that mana being a win condition. I thought you'd be able to eventually bowl them over just through the dampening because their healing throughput isn't quite the same compared to say an evoker or even a holy paladin or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I was a
might
little confused by that.
you might call me biased for this take, but when you get to high dampening, I've always found that like it's the healer who has the mana to just like pump really inefficient heals for 10 seconds wins the game. And for some reason, monks just seem to always have that mana.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In my experience, anyway. So I was quite glad to see that change, and also to see the disc mana buff as well.
Because the thing is, right, the big thing that they had as a problem with healers is that every like Resto Druid and Evoker are really, really strong. And what they need to do is they need to bring all the healers up. Like they can keep the dampening and everything the same way. They just need to bring all the healers up so that you
Mhm.
have the versatility of comps that works with having multiple healers being viable. So like bringing disc up is good. Like Mistweaver was already in a really good spot. If it had like a few extra things, maybe like a slight buff here and there, it might be on the same level as Evoker. And I think the mana change is probably quite nice, just to, again, as Alex was saying, just to kind of stop them from being basically, having so much more mana than everyone else in the late dampening.
Okay. In that case, I guess I just died too fast normally. Um, Yeah, I do. I will notice that the Holy Paladin, they actually buffed their mana regen, so it was minus. It was 40%, and now it. But sorry, hold on. So mana regeneration reduced by an additional 35% was 40% in PvP. So is that a
Yeah.
buff, or is it? It sounds like it's a
Yes,
buff.
it's a 5% buff
Okay,
to their mana regen.
all
It's
right.
hard to tell when they start it with reduced.
Yeah,
It's just
reduced by an
it's just
additional, but it's a
yeah.
lower. Yeah, okay.
I think originally was 40, now it's 35. So the idea is that they got 5% back, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, also, if anybody does the world PvP, I know a lot of people are probably happy to see that the Sparks of Life, the weekly quest, it was collect 200 sparks in a zone. Now it's been only 100 sparks, so that should be a little bit easier to get all your sparks if you so need to. And we only kind of glazed over some of the tuning. There's a lot more in there. Highly recommend you go check it out. Both PvE side and PvP side. So yeah. Another one, there's a great post done by the Blues over on their forums talking about the solo shuffle update. So there was an update that was made to the way the MMR and the grouping was calculated and all that. That said, they still say that they aren't completely happy with how it's going. There's some technical limitations, but also some future improvements that they want to do. One is they're looking at changing the rating being calculated per round in the games with levers. So if somebody leaves, not everybody doesn't get zero automatically, but you still get something. And they're also talking, this one I think is really good. They're talking about changing the deserter debuff to being account wide so that people don't leave and then just hop onto another tune and queue up while they wait for that other tune's debuff to go away. So I think that's important, as well as
Yeah, I think
some
those
other
are
good
two
stuff.
really big changes that
All right.
everyone's been asking for, and
Yeah.
quite happy to see.
Yeah, me too. Just looking at every, what I've experienced and then also what I've seen on socials and that. In there, is there anything that you guys saw that really jumps out that you're like, oh my goodness, that's a great change or a bad change, or something you feel that is missed in their wish list that you wish that they added? Uh, Alex, you first.
I think, like, for me, it's the frequency of and the speed that they're getting these fixes in. It
Mhm.
feels like they're really making an effort to like address the big problems like in like a rapid time frame, which I think they didn't do in Shadowlands. So I'm really pleased to see that, and like to have a balance patch. Like, are we a week in now? Maybe a week, maybe two. Like that's awesome. I'm glad they're making things happen quickly. And yeah, the levers thing is super annoying. And I think I've had like 3 or 4 lever games myself of maybe 100. So it's like it's frequent enough that it's a pain in the ass. So I'm glad they're doing something about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the same for me as well. And I think just making it so that I really like, I don't mind, like, if even if the lever penalty was less, less of a painful thing, as long as people who didn't leave and stayed through get what they should get, you know, basically like calculate it with the guy missing getting a load of negative and the others maybe getting like even like a smaller positive while someone leaves like that, or kind of like maybe not as harsh a penalty or whatever, if someone leaves, then that would be the best thing for me because you just waste so much time, especially as a DPS, spending half an hour just to have some guy leave when you're 5-0. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, that's a that's a tad of a piss off if you've been sitting in queue that long and get zero after putting in the effort because somebody decided that they wanted to leave. Um,
Exactly.
I guess this is one thing that they are looking at, which I think is important, is they're looking to try to incentivize more healers. So they're talking about adding in a indicator on the UI for a call to arms for the healer. So you can see if you queued healer, you would have got more rewards, right? And then also, it looks like they're going to add in on the mouse over, so we'll show the average wait time, not just for uh, your class, but or your spec, but for both roles, the DPS and the healer. So if you're sitting there as a DPS, seeing that you're on a 35-minute queue, oh, but the healer's an insta queue, it might incentivize people to yeah pick up the healer torch and run with it. Well, I don't know. I feel like maybe if I'm maybe a little bit wrong on this, but I feel like most people they they don't heal because they don't want to deal with that stress. And I don't like, you can throw as many carrots and as many rewards as you want. I still feel that if somebody feels uncomfortable healing because they don't want to deal with that stress, they're just not gonna they just won't go for the carrot. Uh, that's my thoughts. The other thing I think we should talk about is the 10.0.5 PTR that recently got announced, and if I'm not mistaken, got uploaded just recently. So you should have it there. Whole bunch of new data being data mined out of that. They have their development notes up on the forums. Big thing is the Druid talent fixes. So it looks like they are well, they're finally finishing the development of the Druid trees that they never got done before launch of the X pack. So there's that. They added in the final pieces of the season one PvP rewards because they weren't originally in the launch. So I think we saw the tabard being data mined, and I believe they found the I want to say they found the weapon enchant. I could be wrong on that, but that was data mine. And then the other big one is the trader post. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Essentially, it's going to be a collector's dream. Is if you want to collect things, go earn tendies or trader tender, and you can use that to buy stuff. Uh, that's about it. Is there anything else I missed? I think Jake. I think I got it all there. Did we miss
I'm
anything
fairly
on?
sure.
Pardon me.
No, I'm fairly sure that's it. As far as I can tell, like it's mostly the big things for us is the balancing patches, the new stuff coming onto the PTR,
Uh-huh.
um, obviously solo shuffle tuning, and then obviously, yeah, that's it. That's it, as far as I know.
Yeah. I think I guess there's one thing I didn't put on there. If you guys want to consider it PvP, but Chris Metzen came back.
Oh yeah, that's true actually.
Yeah, that was cool to see.
I think so. I think. I mean, he's the grandfather, the granddaddy of the story, right? So, um, I don't know. Like, my understanding was he left because the stress of trying to come up with a story that was going to outdo the story before was too much for him, and that his home life was suffering. So he was like, I'm done. You know, he walked away from it, got himself mentally better. You know, he's been able to he went on, did another venture, did some Dungeons and Dragon stuff. Now he can't. So now he's coming back. um I don't know, what's your expectation? Do you think the storyline's going to improve, stay the same, or go downhill? Bueller? Alex, you first.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I've personally like loved the old storylines. I think that kind of came from Warcraft 3. I was a bit dissatisfied with probably like most people with like, Shadowlands storylines. So I think for me it would be hard to do worse than Shadowlands. So my to follow on from that, my I have high hopes for Dragonflight.
Yeah, I really hate to say it, but I even feel like BFA storyline was better than Shadowlands, and that's saying something,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you know I don't think BFA storyline was monumentally great. I think personally it started to go downhill from WoD, and I think what I liked WoD as an expansion just in general,
Yep.
but storyline wise, it got a bit weird with the timey wimey stuff,
Yeah.
and then Legion was cool. BFA was okay. The best part was the Black Empire. All the N'Zoth stuff was awesome. If not, a bit tired of Magni at that stage, um, but definitely like the N'Zoth stuff was really cool. And I'll always think positively of Nihilotha as a raid. I just wish we could have done more in Nihilotha. It would have been awesome to have gone to Nihilotha. Hopefully they maybe see us go do something like that at some point. I'd take the timey wimey stuff just to go there because that was awesome. Yeah, I'm so far Dragonflight, in my opinion, is a little bit weird as a storyline, but Chris Metzen knows what he's doing, and I
Mm-hmm.
think going forwards, he's an executive producer. I think so. He's not. I don't think he's as integrated as he has been. So he'll be there kind of going, okay, yeah, this seems like a cool idea. What about this? And hopefully that kind of does put it on a direction or on a
Yeah.
path of direction that is good.
Yes, he left as like the senior creative director at Blizzard, and he came back as uh like an advisor to the Warcraft story. I will say I feel like the Dragonflight story has already been written, so anything that he is contributing now will be the next expansion. I wouldn't pin anything that is storyline wise in Dragonflight being pinned to him.
Mm.
Um, because I mean, it takes them about 2 years to develop these games. So if they're going to be whatever the next expansion, they're probably working on it now, not working on it later. So we'll see. I actually I have some hopes. I feel like Dragonflight is an improvement over the last expansion story wise. I suspect that whatever Metzen brings in will also be as good or better. Um, I'm definitely not expecting it to get worse. Although, uh, so far the the gameplay of the world right now feels really good, but I think the story is still kind of being developed in Dragonflight. So I think it's hard to say that part about how good the story has been or will be for this whole expansion, because it's like reading the first chapter of a book and saying the whole book is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, anyway, that was just one little add-on. Glad we talked about it. Shout outs to you, Alex. You first. You're the guest of honor. Is there anybody you would like to shout out as we close this out?
Thanks. I'll go shout out to the Warcraft Recorder contributors. I didn't really get to plug any of them, but I had a few people just come along, found the project online, and contribute. Like the entirety of the Mythic Plus functionality was contributed by someone else, and it's really awesome to have people come on board and just give like big chunks of function like that. So thanks very much to anyone who's contributed to Warcraft Recorder. And also I better shout out my rogue friend I mentioned earlier. Shout out to Dr. Daggers, and hope you're enjoying your holiday.
I love it. Is he a fan of knives?
I'm not sure. I've never asked.
That's too fun. All right. Jake, how about you? Any shout outs?
I am going to shout out. I had someone literally in my brain just a second ago to shout out. Who was I going to shout out? I was going to shout out. Oh, it's actually just disappeared from my brain. I'm so tired. I don't know if I can even function. You know what? I'm actually, you know what I'm going to shout out? I'm actually going to shout out all of the add-on creators that have been working tirelessly to get everything up to scratch for Dragonflight, especially the guys working on getting the old UI back. Big shout out to them just for doing such a fantastic job at just getting everything ready and getting it working and kind of like trying to get through what I think is probably quite a buggy game at the minute. Definitely feels like it's very buggy. There's a lot of things going wrong. So really awesome for them, and I'm glad that they're working so hard, and so they need to be appreciated. So thank you.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I want to shout out Alex for contacting us, making sure that we knew about the Warcraft Recorder, and really, being willing to punish yourself through this grueling 2 hours late at night as we picked your brain apart about this wonderful app. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thanks for having me. It's been great to be here.
Awesome.
This is great. Well, you have your last little bit. Put on your shoes, stand on the soapbox, and tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs, should they wish to.
Yeah, okay. So Google search Warcraft Recorder, and that will get you to our GitHub page. And there is a how to get set up article right on the front page of that. All you have to do is scroll down. If you run into any problems, you can contact us on our Discord server, also linked from the GitHub page. And feel free to give me a ping in the help channel if you're struggling.
Awesome. And Jake, do you want to do the honors of the closeout?
Of course. If you wish to contact us directly with a tweet, you can do so to @technically_PvP. Or, as Gerissar has been saying multiple times, if you have any grievances, you can send us an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. And you can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord. Also, you can visit the Bonus Roll Productions website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so you can head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including ours.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about are going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.